Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It is Wednesday night. We're going to talk some NFL wild card round. Got my good buddy Derek. Y'all know him in the DFS streets as Notorious. Noto, what's happening, my friend?
So, man, feeling a lot better this week. Sorry I had to leave you hanging for week 18, but hope it went well. And yeah, how'd your week go?
Week went great. I mean, podcast-wise, we kind of didn't do the podcast. So,
okay.
You were sick, and like I had a crazy week with a lot of family stuff. So just weren't able to get to it. And I mean, both of us run the expert survey, so hopefully all the RotoGrinders subscribers kind of got that. And but I mean, I had a good week. It was one of the better weeks I've had in the last few weeks anyway. I mean, it was basically, what you do in week 18, you play guys from teams that matter and you kind of just see what happens. I mean, and that's exactly what happened. I think my best team was like a Dobbs stack. So it was great because, we've been playing cheap quarterbacks all year and it kind of finally paid off. But I think I had like 65% Drake London, and he had a monster game. So I was just very high on Atlanta, very high on Tampa, and all kind of worked out being high on those teams.
Dude, London was my fade of the week, so goes to show how well I did in week 18. I don't know. I didn't buy into it because all of his yards came on like those last two drives against the Commanders. Yeah, some nice member gave me a nice shout out on Twitter for my Drake London take. That was fun to read. But hey, we don't get them all right,
Can't get them all right. I know I've been getting a ton of tweets and everything. Again, morning grind, pretty much done. I mean, for NBA season, definitely. Noto and I are going to do the wild card round, and then we're going to go next weekend, and then we're kind of done for NFL. Hopefully, we'll get to work together on something for NFL for next season. But I'm going to do something with the podcast for baseball, but just going to kind of enjoy a break. I've been going for 9 straight years on every single day, and I mean, you know how it is. You've been grinding just as long as me. We're like OGs of the industry, and you just need a break. And the break comes at a perfect time, not full time anymore. So it just kind of comes as a perfect time to take a break. And gonna do that. Gonna kind of really ramp up my NASCAR stuff here over the next few weeks and get ready for NASCAR season in February. So excited for that. But I am definitely excited to talk some football. We got all kinds of like best ball playoff stuff going, which I absolutely love those kind of contests. They're always a lot of fun. And we got contests for the 2-game slate. We got contests for the 4 games, 3 games, all 6 games. So we're going to break down all 6 games, just kind of talking about them in general, like we normally do here on the podcast. And, you guys can use that for however you want to, whatever slate you're playing, because there's so many different slates. Do you have a favorite game overall, like on this slate, like of the 6 games?
I mean, I can't wait to watch Washington and Tampa. I mean, Tampa's just so fun. They've been great all season, especially the second half of the season. So I can't wait for that one. Viking Rams is going to be really good. I mean, Broncos Bills probably not going to be great, but I think the other games all have some potential. How are you approaching the slate in terms of which are your favorite to play? Are you going to be doing the 2, the 3, the 6, all the showdowns too? How are you doing it?
So I have a super busy Saturday. My daughter has a huge volleyball tournament on Saturday, and I obviously I coach. I've talked about this before. So I think I'm going to play the 6-game slate the most, but I'll probably end up playing a good amount of that like Sunday 3-game slate as well. But I think my main like builds, I'll probably build like 3 to 5 single entry teams and probably play like the 20 entry max or something for the 6-game slate. And that'd be like where my main focus goes, because I feel like more games gives more opportunity for people to make mistakes. We've talked about that for years. I like the bigger slates, and this is the last, like next week could be a little bit smaller, and I feel like it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller when we get going here. So I'm going to take advantage of this last like 6-game slate that we have.
And if you play the 6-game slate, you're going to know where you stand after each game, so you can make those late flops. One of my favorite parts of the Thanksgiving slate is just being able to use late swap to your advantage because nobody else ever does, except for the pros. So yeah, I like the 6-game slate too, and I'll probably play all the showdown slates just to have a little sweat in each game. But yeah, I'm excited for the weekend. Should be a lot of good football. And yeah, who's your pick for the Super Bowl?
Oh man, I don't know. After watching the Lions last week, even with all the injuries they have, I still think the Super Bowl potentially runs through Detroit this year. That team is so good, and they're going to start getting some of these people back, like David Montgomery. Sounds like he'll be back. They're going to get a week off to kind of get healthy. So I think the Super Bowl runs through Detroit this year. I think it'd be really interesting to see if like the Chiefs potentially get back. I don't think they're as good as they were the last couple of years, but I mean that defense is very underrated. So I wouldn't be shocked if we get a Kansas City Detroit Super Bowl. And I know it's kind of chalky because they're the two bye teams, two number one seeds, but I do think that the Lions is the team that wins the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, I think they get there. I'm gonna go the Bills over the Lions in the Super Bowl.
That would be an awesome Super Bowl, right?
Oh, incredible.
Yeah, let's just
go.
Kind
of what I'm rooting for. Dude, I'm sorry about your Vikings. I thought they were going to pull through for you. And, I mean, they were going to go from a bye. Now they're on the road and barely favored in the first round. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. No, I mean, hey, listen, I had plenty of chances to cash out and like 5, 6, 7X. And like, when you have a 60, I think it was like $63 to win like $1,700 bet or whatever it was. You just let those ride, right? Like, doubling up, tripling up is fun, but 25 to 1, you just let it ride, right? You just let it ride.
Yeah, it's like the life-changing amount of money argument. If it's like $100,000, you can cash out for half. I think you go for it, but if it's a grand on a $6 bet, let it ride.
Yeah, I mean, like even if it was like $5 or $10,000, like if you have like a chance to win a $10,000 bet and you can cash out for $5,000, I'm probably going to cash out for $5,000. Yeah. I mean, like those are
on something for $5,000.
Yeah, go get it. Yeah, I mean those are the types of ones. So we're definitely in agreement with that. So all right, let's talk some football. We get started on Saturday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. It is the Chargers and the Texans, 42.5 total in this game. Chargers a 2.5 point favorite. Let's go to the Chargers here first. What do we like here for LA?
Yeah, I mean, Justin Herbert's been awesome pretty much all season. Decent matchup indoors, so you don't have to worry about weather here. I think I'd probably rather approach it with the passing game than the running game just because, I don't know, I guess on the 2-game slate, you got to consider Dobbins. But, yeah, I like McConkey. Johnson and Palmer are both dealing with some injuries, so I think the Herbert to McConkey stack's the way I would go. And, yeah, it's not like my favorite game overall.
Yeah, I mean, I think you bring up a good point as far as like the 2-game slate with Dobbins definitely in play for that slate because, I mean, Pittsburgh and Baltimore, two of the best run defenses in the NFL, facing each other on that like second half of that 2-game slate. But I think if you're playing like the 6-game slate, you're definitely focused more on the passing game here. McConkey, probably my favorite. Johnston at 4,800, I think is super playable. He has at least 7 targets in 4 of the last 5 games. I think he's kind of flying under the radar. He has 3 of those games over 15 DraftKings points out of his last 5. So at 4,800, you're playing this like 6-game slate. It's not 10, 11, 12 game slates anymore. You're not going to have a ton of value like you were last week and the week before. So I think a guy like Johnston is playable, but I think McConkey is the main play. Herbert doesn't rank really high for me. I already did my rankings this week, and he doesn't rank very high for me as far as the quarterback play goes. But if you're playing McConkey and Johnston and you want to do like a double stack with Herbert, I don't hate it. Other side here, Houston, again, 2-game slate, mixed and playable. 6-game slate, mixed and playable. Nico Collins obviously going to be the main piece here. But then you have a lot of value and a lot of question marks what's going to happen with the rest of this offense because you have Nico Collins, who's super expensive, but with the injuries, definitely opens up some stuff. We have multiple guys under 4K. That could be options here. I mean, you got Robert Woods, Deontay Johnson is in this offense. If Mechie plays, he's there. I think Schultz is my like secondary target as far as like the pass catchers go, but I expect a pretty heavy workload for Mixon coming from Houston here.
Man, I can't believe how bad CJ Stroud's been this year. He's had 2 games over 20 fantasy points. It's just, I can look at his game log. They're like almost all under 15, especially the second half of the season. What do you think it is? Like, he's got the weapons.
I think it's the weapons being hurt. I mean, think about how long Nico was out. Dell's been out. I mean, a lot of his weapons have been out, even like Diggs. So you think back to the beginning of the season, and he had all of his guys, and they were kind of rolling. And then a lot of injuries happened. And I mean, what's the first thing that you do if you're a defensive coordinator against Houston right now? I mean, you're doubling Nico as much as possible, right? So who else is who else is Stroud going to throw the ball to at that point?
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, he plays in the AFC South. Get 2 games against the Jags. You can go off in one of those, right?
Yeah, jeez. I mean, you're not wrong.
I keep chasing it. When he's cheap, I probably won't have a ton of Stroud, but I do like Mixon on all the slates. I do like Nico Collins on all the slates. Even though Stroud's been quiet, Nico's still getting a bunch of targets, a bunch of deep targets down the field too. So I'll play some of those too, but I'm probably going to have less exposure to this game than the other 5, I would guess.
Both of these games, right? I think overall, when you're looking at these 2 games on Saturday, they're probably my least 2 favorite games of the 6. So I'm going to probably end up like being underweight on the 2 Saturday games just in general, and just kind of hoping that like nobody goes bonkers. I like McConkey. I like Mixon. Don't get me wrong, but this game is not one of my favorites on the slate. I might use some defenses on both sides of this game. Pittsburgh at Baltimore, 43.5 total in this one. Baltimore, a 9.5 point favorites. We'll go to the Pittsburgh side here first. I tweeted this out, or I don't think I actually tweeted it out, but Baltimore, you know how much we picked on them at the beginning of the season. Their defense has been incredible since week 10. They've been playing awesome. They have been one of the best run and pass EPAs to finish out the year. Anything on the Pittsburgh side excite you here?
I mean, we still got a favorable game script for the passing game. And if you look at, I mean, the second half of the year schedule, they've had some easy opponents in terms of quarterbacks for the Ravens. So I still think the way to beat them is through the air. I don't hate Russell Wilson. Don't hate George Pickens. Pat Freiermuth has been catching a lot of touchdowns. So I think you can definitely play some of these guys. If you're looking for value, you can maybe go to Calvin Austin. But the running backs are to stay away from me. If you're playing one of them, you're probably playing Jaylen Warren because he's a better pass catcher, in my opinion. But, yeah, it feels like a good spot to load up on Baltimore's D.
Yeah, I think like Fairmouth is okay. I mean, I think Pickens is going to get a ton of targets in this game, but he's kind of been not the best. I think it's the nicest way to put it. If you think Baltimore is going to be up in this game, I think your Warren call makes a lot of sense. If they're playing from behind, he's a guy that can get 5 to 8 targets out of the backfield, can score double-digit fantasy points. Running back, especially on the 2-game slate, is really weak. So I think Warren makes a lot of sense on the 2-game slate. I think in large field tournaments, he's okay. On the 6-game slate, they were taking some shots with Austin, so I don't hate like him in large field tournaments here, just trying to hit that home run play. One long 30, 40-yard play that turns into a touchdown could pay off $4K, so I don't hate him. Freiermuth, like I said, he's probably my favorite play from Pittsburgh here. On the Baltimore side, run King Henry, run. I mean, he should dominate Pittsburgh here. The last time these 2 teams played, he ran for 162. Didn't score in that game and still scored 24 fantasy points. So probably one of the safest running back plays that we have on every slate. So I think Henry very much in play. I was reading something earlier today, like how much Pittsburgh blitz Baltimore, and that's when Mark Andrews becomes very useful. So Mark Andrews, another tight end play that I like. Flowers, Henry, Andrews. I think I prefer Josh Allen over Lamar on the 6-game slate, but on the 2-game slate, Lamar is definitely one of the safer running or quarterback plays.
Yeah, it's kind of wild that both Lamar and Henry get there every single week, and they don't have a lot of correlation. Like Henry catches, 1 or 2 passes per game.
Yeah.
Although Lamar did miss him for a wide open touchdown catch last week. Not that it mattered against Cleveland, but the one situation to watch for me is Zay Flowers. Sounds like he's trending in the wrong direction. At least that's what his little blurb on DraftKings says. Didn't practice on Wednesday. So if he ends up being out, we can really look to the pass catchers for value. Rashad Bateman's been really good. Mentioned Mark Andrews. I mean, even Isaiah Likely would probably run a lot of 2 tight end sets. So yeah, I would really like Baltimore just as a whole. You could do like a onslaught here with Lamar, Henry, and Bateman. I think it's a really good spot. I like their defense too. They're going to be playing with the lead. And if Russ Wilson's going to be chucking a lot, I think he might make some mistakes here.
If Flowers is out, I think a contrarian build would be going Lamar, Bateman, Andrews, and being underweight on Henry. Like if you're not on the right piece of that LA Houston game and you need to get different, I mean, go to Warren off of Henry and load up on a double stack with Lamar or something if you have your quarterback slot open still. So a lot of ways you could get different if that Houston game doesn't go your way. Really interesting game here. So, all right, we got Denver at Buffalo, 46.5 total here. Buffalo, 8.5-point favorite. Go to Denver here first. The Buffalo defense has been struggling down the stretch. They haven't been as good as they were to start the season. 4th most passing yards allowed per game since week 10. So definitely something to note. Their run defense has struggled. Denver can't run the football. I think we just play Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton, or just play Cortland Sutton and keep playing our boy. He really hasn't failed us much this year, especially the second half. And, dude, Marvin Mims Jr. has come out. Man. He has been awesome. I know our good buddy Creighton Christie has been on him a lot on the expert survey here down the stretch. What are your thoughts here on Denver?
Yeah, it's hard not to like the passing game. They don't really throw to the tight ends. They can't run the ball. They're probably going to be trailing most of this game. So, yeah, I'm with you. I like Bo Nix. I like Cortland Sutton the best. Don't mind taking some shots on Marvin Mims in tournaments. I don't know how many big plays Buffalo's going to give up in this one, but Marvin Mims has the ability to take the cap off the defense. And I can't believe I didn't play Nix last week. We've been playing him all year. Must-win game against some backups at KC, and I didn't play him. I'm still kicking myself for that.
Yeah, I had some Nix Sutton. I wish I would have did the double stack. I did it a lot with Baker last week with Baker, Evans, and McMillan, and I wish I would have done the Nix Sutton Mims stack. I did have Nix Mims, Nix Sutton. I just didn't have the double stack, but. Again, week 18, week 17, those are the games that I really like to kind of focus on teams that have something to play for. Buffalo side, I mean, Josh Allen on the 6-game slate, on the 3-game slate, on any slate that you're playing, I think Josh Allen's the top play here. We see him in these must-win games, and he's just a different quarterback in these games where everything on the line, he runs, he passes, he finds the end zone a ton. I mean, if you can afford him, he's definitely the number 1 quarterback play for me on this slate.
Yeah, I kind of like the Josh Allen and then bring back Cortland Sutton. Don't use any of the pass catches for Buffalo. Kind of assume that Allen's going to get there on the ground and then spread the ball out through the air a little bit. So if I'm playing Allen, I'd probably rather play him with Sutton than one of his pass catchers. You can always play James Cook. He's one of those guys that doesn't get a ton of touches on a weekly basis, but he's broken 28 fantasy points 4 times this season. So don't mind pairing him up with the defense, rookie quarterback on the road in a tough environment. But yeah, I'm with you. Josh Allen, favorite quarterback play if you can find the cap space.
I like Kincaid, and I also like Shakir. I think they're both really cheap for a game, especially a playoff type of game. And Denver's been a lot better against the run. If we look at everything since week 10, they've allowed the most passing yards per game, but the second fewest rushing yards per game. So they've kind of been a pass funnel. So I think that I prefer going to one of these wide receivers or pass catchers. Shakir and Kincaid, probably my favorites. I think it's a good sign that they got Coleman a lot of looks last week. Even though it was Trubisky throwing him the football, they actually got him a lot of looks, and I think that was good. So I don't mind the pass catchers as much as I don't necessarily love James Cook. He always finds the end zone. He has those games where he rushes for 100 and scores once or twice, and those are the games that really burn you. Then he breaks that long catch out of the backfield every once in a while. So I don't think you can fade him if you're MMEing, but it just seems like a Josh Allen spot. So very high on Josh Allen. Buffalo is a team that I'm going to target a lot. I think it's a great spot for Allen. And I mean, that's one of the reasons that I like the Denver pass catchers. I think they're going to be playing from behind in this game. And I think, man, Bo Nix might be a guy we talk about a lot over the next 10 years. So I'm excited to watch where his future is going to go.
And he's running the ball again, too. Last 4 games, at least 23 yards. So, yeah, I like Nix. I like Allen. I like Sutton.
All right, we got Green Bay at Philadelphia, 45.5 total here. Philly, a 4.5-point favorite. We'll go to the Green Bay side here first. This is one of the most interesting games of the weekend for me. Watson out, tore his ACL. We wish him a speedy recovery. That guy just can't stay healthy, which stinks. Everything sounds like Jordan Love is going to be good to go. So we'll assume that Jordan Love is going to play in this game on Sunday. Tough matchup. Philly's defense has been incredible, especially down the stretch. Anything here on the Green Bay side that you like?
I was kind of wild at the end of this game and the Commanders game. All of a sudden, Commanders were losing, and then Green Bay had already taken Love out of the game. They were going to put him back in to see if they could win to avoid this matchup. That was kind of fun there in the last couple minutes of the game. But, yeah, I don't know. This is a team that I've had a tough time trusting on large slates all season, so they're probably more of a 3-game slate target for me. I don't feel particularly good about any of the receivers. Maybe with Watson out. I've been targeting Dubs more than anybody else. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to play Jacobs against this tough run defense in a game where they might be trailing. So probably not going to have a ton of exposure to Green Bay. What about you?
Yeah, I like the Philly defense for sure. I don't mind Tucker Kraft. He always seems to be that guy that, can get 5 to 7 targets consistently and always a threat in the red zone to score touchdowns. So I think, we don't have like Kelsey or any of like the top tight ends on the slate, the Bowers, the McBride that we've had all year. So I think tight end is a position that like you kind of just ignore ownership and play the guys that you like, that you think can score touchdowns. So I think that Kraft is a guy that I'll probably have in my tight end player pool. On the Philadelphia side, I like Saquon a lot. I think he's a great pivot off of Derrick Henry in the 6-game slate. On the 3-game slate, he's a fantastic play. Probably do the best I can to probably get Bucky, Saquon in together. I think they're clearly the best 2 on the 3-game slate. Outside of that, though, I mean, like, it feels like an A.J. Brown game. I could see A.J. Brown having a big game here. I think he's going to be the main target in this pass offense. Hurts always gets the tush push and has upside to score, 2 to 3 touchdowns. So he's always in play. He's another guy that can go for like 30. I don't think Hurts is going to have the ownership of Allen. So I think that's a good like tournament pivot scenario. So it's really those 3 for me. Yeah, I mean, you could throw in Smith, you could throw in Goddard, but I really think it's AJ, Barkley, and Hurts this week for Philadelphia and the defense.
Yeah, I agree with you. This might be Galaxy braining a little bit, but I mean, Hurts didn't play week 17 and 18 with a concussion and a finger injury. Is there a chance they don't do the tush push when they get down there? Just give it to Saquon. Save your quarterback from hitting his head. Any chance?
I'd say normally you're not crazy, but I mean, Philadelphia has shown that they're gonna tush push, man.
They did give it to Saquon once when they played the Giants, and he didn't get in, and then they went right back to the tush push. But yeah, I love Saquon. He might be my favorite running back play, even over Derrick Henry. I mean, obviously love them both, but he could have 30 touches in this one. I don't think either of the other running backs are even gonna be on the field other than a snap or 2. So love Saquon. I'm okay with A.J. Brown. Okay with Devontae. Not going to be on Jalen Hurts. So.
All right, I got Washington at Tampa, 50.5 total in this game. Tampa, 3-point favorite. Like you, this is probably my favorite game of the weekend. Absolutely love this game. Start with the Washington side. Man, I did tweet this out earlier. I think Terry McLaurin's going to have a huge game this week. We've seen the Tampa run defense just stop everybody recently. They're only allowing 61 rushing yards per game since week 10, lowest in the NFL. Terry McLaurin has been that target for Daniels, and I think that we're going to see Daniels really focus in on McLaurin this week. I think we're going to see a huge, scary Terry game this week.
Yeah, for sure. Love him in this spot. And we love Tampa because they love shootouts and they can't stop the pass. So
Yep.
love Jaden Daniels. Think he's a great play. McLaurin's obviously the wide receiver one there. But I wouldn't overlook Zacchaeus. I mean, he's had 23 and 24 fantasy points in 2 of the last 3 games. During that stretch, he's had 22 targets. So he's kind of established himself as the wide receiver 2. Zach Ertz gets there every week. I mean, we got to keep playing this guy. I think you can double stack Daniels with some confidence here.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could play 2 pass catchers without Daniels if you want to. So I think you could do. Washington is a team that I'm going to be very heavy on here. Like Ertz, I love that call. Cicadas, love that call. I think in large field tournaments, you could play some Austin Eckler this week. If you're playing like the 6-game or the 3-game slate and you want to get different, when they get behind, we've seen him get. I think he had a game where he had 9 targets earlier this year. So they don't necessarily use Robinson a ton out of the backfield for catching the ball. So I think if they get behind this week, Eckler is somebody that comes out and plays. So don't hate that either. I like Cicadas a lot more if Jamison Crowder ends up sitting. I know he's dealing with a groin injury. If he sits, Jamison Crowder is just that guy that get like 3 to 5 targets, and you can get those spread out between Cicadas, Ertz, and McLaurin. It's just better. So, yeah, I mean, I like Daniels a lot, like Washington a lot, like Tampa a lot. I think Bucky Irving is my favorite running back play of the weekend over Saquon and over Henry when you're considering price. He's just consistent, and he's using the passing game. He's just going to be out there running the football. So I like Bucky a lot. I think we got to keep looking at McMillan. He's been an awesome source of value over the last, I mean, basically 6-7 weeks. So good to see Mike Evans get there. I'm really glad that like an injury didn't hurt it, but he tied Jerry Rice, right? Most consecutive 1,000-yard. It's awesome. Love it for Mike Evans. Love seeing Baker Mayfield just kind of have a resurgent here, but Tampa is an offense that I'm going to be playing a lot. I'm really high on the Tampa offense here.
Yeah, I mean, we like to give coaches a hard time a lot on just any platform, but yeah, to see Todd Bowles in a spot where, you know, if they turned the ball over, they weren't guaranteed to win because the Falcons were still in overtime. So they didn't have the division locked up yet. The game was over. They couldn't nail the ball down to get Evans that final catch. And yeah, it was just cool. The whole team loved it. He loved it. And not only did they get the 1,000-yard, you know, record, he got a couple bonuses too with the incentives in his contract. So love to see it. As far as this game, yeah, I'm with you. Bucky Irving just continues to crush on a weekly basis. I mean, he's getting there every week without scoring touchdowns. So if he ends up scoring a time or 2 in this one, he's going to have a huge game. Like Evans, like McMillan, like Baker. We'll have to see on K. Dotton. They've kind of been splitting work with Payne Durham and I can't remember the other guy. So I probably wouldn't trust either tight end if Otten's out, but that would open up more targets for Evans and McMillan.
Yeah, I mean, I think Durham is a guy that's going to be looked at in the red zone, so you could potentially take shots at 3,100. But I think you're just kind of hoping it's McMillan or Evans and Bucky. I think you can kind of condense how you look at the Bucks here. Jerry's eating rice. Yeah, I mean, maybe. Isn't that like a commercial? Yeah, it's a commercial, right?
Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah. All right, we got Minnesota at LA. Prayers out to everybody in California, man. I know you and I have been out in California a bunch, definitely with some DFS stuff over the years. So just prayers out. Those fires look awful. So hopefully everyone is okay and this game happens. And listen, sports can take your mind off of stuff sometimes and help with some bigger issues. So we got Minnesota minus 1.5, 47.5 overall. We'll go to the Minnesota side here first. If you're playing the 6-game slate, there's no reason not to like Minnesota here. They're going to come out with a chip on their shoulder. The one thing that, I mean, Detroit exploited it, right? Like the offensive line can't handle pressure. Well, good for them because the Rams don't pressure the quarterback a ton. So this might be a spot they can kind of survive that. Everyone like Darnold, Addison, Jefferson, Jones, Hawkinson. I mean, the Minnesota offense should roll here against the Rams.
Yeah, I love the spot. One of my favorite plays of the week is Hawkinson. Darnold missed him like 3 times, one for a touchdown, a couple for some deep plays down the field, just kept overthrowing him. But 8, 6, 5, 7 targets the last 4 games. He's not much more expensive than some of the other tight ends. So love him. Obviously, Jefferson can get there. Darnold can get there. Aaron Jones hasn't shown like a ton of upside this season, but he's probably a safe play at the price point. I wouldn't prioritize him over Bucky for a little bit more, but yeah, it's a great spot. You can stack Darnold and feel pretty good about it too. I think this game has serious shootout potential, and I don't want to give too many spoilers, but I think it's going to be the over in my over-under play in the morning grind game.
There you go. I will say, like, if you're playing the 6-game slate, Jones is really cheap on DraftKings. He's $6K. He makes a lot of things work. If you're wanting to pay up for one running back and kind of pay down for your RB2, I like him over like Cook, and I like him over like Dobbins, and I definitely like him over Robinson. So I think Aaron Jones, price-wise, is just really in a good spot. Don't think they necessarily pushed him a lot. I know he was kind of in and out of the lineup here recently, so I think we see Aaron Jones 100% here, ready to go. I'm not too concerned about Cam Akers, but I mean, Cam Akers has looked really good. It's kind of weird, but he has looked really good. All right, Rams. I mean, one of the easiest teams in the NFL to play this year, right? Puka, Williams, Cup, Stafford. And I don't even play a ton of Stafford because all his production kind of goes to those 3 guys. So probably won't play a lot of Stafford, but I'll play Puka and Williams and Cup.
Yeah, I don't mind Stafford just because he's so cheap. But yeah, I'm with you. Love Puka. I mean, Higbee's been, playing more. He's ran more routes. He had 7 targets in week 18. So it's a little surprised to see him out there so much. But hey, good to see him getting going a little bit. Kieran Williams is always the forgotten guy, running back. Nobody ever wants to play him over Derrick Henry and Saquon. So I think he's going to be low-owned once again.
Yeah, I mean, hey, shout out to Jimmy Garoppolo last week, throwing for 300-plus yards, getting the spot start. You think that turned some heads for him potentially getting a chance again next year?
I don't know. That one dude was it Green Bay, Matt Flynn, got like that huge contract from one good game in week 18 that 1 week. So you never know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Jimmy Garoppolo never got a fair shake how everything kind of shaped up. So wouldn't be shocked if he gets another starting spot somewhere over the next couple years. But it'd be cool to see anyway. All right, let's play the morning grind game, and then we'll get out of here until next week. We'll be back to talk a 4-game slate, right? Yeah, 4-game slate next week, and that'll kind of finish it out for the NFL season for us on the morning grind. Morning grind game, question 1, quarterback, 300-plus passing yards. Who do you got?
I'm going to go Baker Mayfield.
I like it. I think he's going to be chucking. I debated on this one, but I kept coming back. I'm going Bo Nix. Got to finish the season strong if it's his last game. I think that game has some potential for an upset. I'll just say that. I know you wanted Buffalo in the Super Bowl. I think Denver has a chance to upset Buffalo. We'll see. I think Buffalo wins, but what's that?
The Bills fans have had some rough beats. This would be just another one on the long list of the beats.
Gosh, the comment section. If this is an upset, I'm going to get Bills Mafia in the comment section and never live it down. Low-owned running back for a touchdown. It is Wednesday. Ownership will change. Anybody kind of standing out to you? We'll go, let's say, less than 20% because it's such a smaller slate.
Okay, let me pull up the ownership. You go first.
Yeah, I mean, I said it. I'm going to go Austin Eckler. I know this is a really contrarian play. I don't think anyone's going to play him. I think they're going to get behind in this game. And if they do get behind in this game, Eckler would have an opportunity or two here. So you're currently projecting him for – it's really low, right? Yeah, it's really low.
So we're projecting
7%?
Yeah. Henry at 12% and Saquon at 7%? That can't be right.
I don't think – I mean, when you run the Sims early in the week, like it's very heavy Irving, Mixon, Williams, Jones, a lot of like the spend down running backs. So balanced build in the Sims seem to be like the go-to builds here early in the week. So we'll see how that changes throughout the week. But balanced builds were popping when I was messing around with the Sims and lineup HQ earlier.
Well, I'll go with Henry and Barkley. I think they both get in the end zone.
Take them both. Quarterback, wide receiver, stack for a touchdown. Who's getting the job done?
Yeah, I always like this question. I'm going to go Jaden Daniels to Terry McLaurin.
He took my answer. I knew you were going to take my answer too. Give me Sam Darnold to Addison, not Jefferson. Addison. Addison gets in the end zone this week. It's been awesome down the stretch. Just had a really rough game last week. Wide receiver for 8+ targets.
Yeah, I think there's some obvious answers. I'll go a little bit down the board. Let's go Cortland Sutton.
Yeah, took my answer again. I think he's just going to get peppered with targets in this game. Kind of go a little off the board here. Give me AJ Brown to get 8+ targets. Tight end for a touchdown. Who do you got?
TJ Hawkinson, favorite tight end of the week.
I like that a lot. Pittsburgh blitzed a ton against Baltimore last time out. That opens up things for Mark Andrews. Give me Mark Andrews to score a touchdown. Defense for 10+ points. Who do you got?
I'm going to go... guess I'll just take chalky Baltimore.
Yeah. I hate to say it. I kind of like the Eagles defense a lot. They've been really good. Green Bay has been awesome this year, but I think Jordan Love's going to have a tough game this week. So give me the Eagles defense.
I can see the Chargers being sneaky.
Yeah, I think so too. Like if you can shut down Nico, you kind of focus on Nico Collins and Joe Mixon. I mean, I don't know. That's how teams have kind of shut down Houston here recently. So I don't hate the Chargers defense either. I think they're cheap too, right?
They are 32.
Oh, they're not cheap. Maybe they're cheap on FanDuel. I thought they were cheap somewhere. Yahoo. Anyway. All right, let's go to the betting portion of the show. Any against the spread or money line bets that you like this week?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I think your Vikings, not your Vikings anymore, but your Vikings are in the regular season. I think they're gonna go in, get a win. Tough loss last week, but like you mentioned, Rams can't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and when you give Darnold time, he's going to be tough to beat.
Well, we'll double down on that bet because that's mine too. Minnesota -1. One is an instant bet for me. So I think Minnesota is a much better team than LA. I think that we just saw a really good Lions team kind of just beat up on Minnesota. Minnesota had chances though, man. They had so many chances and just couldn't get anything going in the red zone. In that game against Detroit. Any over-under bets?
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, they went for it on fourth down twice, I think, and then settled for field goals 3 times in the first half, so 2 or 3 times. So, yeah, just could have been a much different game. But, yeah, for my over, I'm going to go over in the Vikings and Rams game. I think it's at 45, 46.
47.5, yeah.
47.5. Still like it.
Yeah, I'm going to go over in the Washington-Tampa game. Like you said, we've seen those Tampa shootouts all year, and I don't think that's going to change this weekend. So give me the over in the Washington-Tampa game. I think that's going to be the like game you really just want to watch. Like you want to crack open a cold one, 8 o'clock on a Sunday night, and just kind of enjoy a football game that's going to be high scoring with a lot of offense. I think that's your game. So really like that one. Any player props you like this week?
You go first.
Yeah, I mean, so the one that I really like is Terry McLaurin over 4.5, but it's -150 for his reception prop. So what I did was kind of same game parlayed it a lot, but that is the one that I'm kind of focusing on. Like, so if you like anything else in that game, I don't mind his 61.5. I just think there's a better chance for him to hit his reception prop. So I was quickly pulling up one of the same game parlays that I liked earlier today. Oh, here's an easy one that I did. I did McLaurin over 4.5 receptions and Zach Ertz over 37.5 yards. So it's like +225 when I bet it earlier. So I'm sure it's close to that. So we'll call that. We'll do that same game parlay. McLaurin over 4.5 and Ertz over 37.5 receiving yards.
I like it. I'm going to go Hawkinson over 41.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I like that too. I feel like Minnesota is going to be a team. on that 6-game slate that can catch you up, right? Like if you're down just a little bit, if you need to play catch up after Denver Buffalo or something, and you're like, oh man, I'm really high on Washington Tampa. I think like don't be afraid to pivot off of some of that Washington Tampa to that Minnesota game, because I think that's the game that has the best opportunity to catch you up outside of Washington Tampa. I think Washington Tampa is going to have a lot more ownership. So any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Oh man, I'm gonna miss doing the show with you after next week, but yeah, excited to see what's coming up for you, and excited for these football games.
NASCAR, baby. NASCAR right around the corner. Can't wait. Super excited for that. We'll have some announcements for that here soon, but excited for NASCAR. Did a lot of testing with like a practice model last year. It worked out great. So very excited to incorporate that kind of stuff into projections and stuff like that. So we should have a NASCAR announcement soon. We'll be back for NFL next week. Have a good one, everyone. We'll see you then.